Welcome back, everyone, to episode number 4 in our Let's Play series of Another Brick in the Mall. Still have trouble saying that title because so badly Pink Floyd wants to come out, but it's Another Brick in the Mall. And so it's a tycoon game, and so far so good. If we take a look at our profit, you can see we're making money a little bit, but we've created ourselves both a good situation and a bad situation. And here's what I mean by that. The good situation is we've added now a third store, which, while having a few glitches in the walls and maybe not being totally completed, doesn't appear to be having any negative effects on the game, and it is early access after all. But the good thing is we've got this brand new huge space with which to add all of our grocery items, plus some room if we want to add additional later on. And so things are going well. However, the problem is, the bad situation is, we have now consolidated all of our groceries, all of our food items in general, in this one area. But we're also selling bits and pieces of those same items in these other two stores. Well, that's not going to be good long term. We don't want to do that. I mean, we have competing stores right next to each other, and we own both of them. That's not good. So what we're going to want to do in today's episode is we're going to want to get started in repurposing these other stores. Instead of being grocery store and a convenience store, we're going to want to change around what these do. So if we look at what we have researching, we have clothing supplier, chemicals are done, which is a bit of a misnomer. This is more personal products, it appears, as you've got your things like soaps and shampoos in there. And then we've got clothing in there. Well, my idea is to take the chemicals and the clothing and put them into this building, while if we come back into here, the electronics has a good small number of items, and my plan is to put that in here. So, but before we can get into that, we've got some research to do. As you can tell, the clothing is only 4 out of 96 hours into this, and then we got to research the electronics as well. So we're not quite ready to make a full transition of these other two yet, but we're getting there. And while we're at it, let's go ahead and finish up the area around our building. So we're going to want to come in and build some more road work. And if I run the road down through here, that will give me the ability to put some either customer parking, employee parking, and so on down in this area. Let's go ahead and run the road to there. And we're going to be putting right here. So that means our road's going to go there. You can see this particular square, we can't use. It runs right into the edge of the building. So we're going to have to put our customer parking and what have you right in that area. Okay, so you can see our builders come in, they get busy on that, and a new day has started. Our day starts at 6 a.m. right now in the game. We've got some research to do if we want to use the hours of midnight to 6. So while they're working on building this, then we'll get busy on putting the various parking spaces and whatnot in there. But let's take a look at our profit. How are we doing? We're coming up on midday now on day 13. And we're not quite back up to break even for the day. Remember, we have salaries that are accrued each hour. And then, of course, we have our daily maintenance that must be overcome. That's what you start the day with, that negative 616 there. And what we're looking at now is all three of our stores combined. So as you can see, we're right at the break-even point now. And for the remainder of the day, we should start pressing more and more into the green for profit. Okay, in the meantime, where are our builders? There we go. Here's our builder. So if we continue to watch our profit, then we've got a few things going on right now. We've got our profit that's going well. We've also got building that's taking place. And we've got research that's taking place. So if we jump back into our research tab, the bad part about looking at the research is it seems to pause the game. So I don't want to spend a whole lot of time in here. So we're 21 out of 96 hours now. Let's jump back out. You can see we got a good bit of time to go. Looks like it takes about 4 in-game days for each of these research options to become totally filled. All right, excellent. We're all almost done with the road there. They'll come over and finish that out. Let's go ahead and go back into build. Let's see, I want a loading zone. Let's go ahead and put the loading zone here. And garbage pickup, I'll put right in this area. Staff only parking, I'm going to put a couple of those right here. And then customer parking is going to be the remainder. I know there was a good area for a loading zone right here, but again, I'm trying to give as much area for customer parking as I can, and I prefer to keep the loading in the back if at all possible. Let's take a quick glance at research. Okay, so we've still got a little over 2 days before that research is done. All right, with that out of the way, let's take a quick look at our managed screen. And we can see that the profit in the convenience store down here has come down, which is, again, what you would expect. We just opened up a big, shiny new grocery store down here. But let's take a look at our staff. Looks like we've got 3 cashiers, one for each of the shifts to get us from 6 o'clock down to midnight. But then we bring in another one during the middle portion of the day to add a little extra help as needed for the extra customers. Now, at this particular point in time in the game, you don't have the ability, as far as I know, to bring in any part-time workers. Everybody works a full-time shift, so you just make do around those rather than bringing in a part-time person for a few hours here and there. Okay, for our products, at this point, I've seen really no reason to take this off of auto margin. I'm sure you could mess around with this and get a little bit better profit here or there on some certain products, but at this point, that's more micromanaging than I want to do. And I'm trying to keep in mind and I'm trying to build a template here for what I can do in the future as I add more and more space and more stores. So we're good there. Let's go to the grocery store and let's see, we got 1, 2, 3, 4 cashiers because we're running 2 cashiers at all times while we're open. And we've got a stock clerk. This is one thing I'm a little bit worried about because we're trying to cover basically 2 shifts with 1 stock clerk. So I'm a little worried about that. We may need to keep our eye on that going forward. And finally, if we come up to our big grocery store, we've got a full lineup of 3 cashiers the entire time that we're open from 6 to midnight, and then 2 stock clerks because we've got so many products here. I don't want to fall behind at all. Huge profit potential here in this building, and you can see that we are closing in on $1,000 of profit for today, and now we're over it. So profit is climbing per day. It looks like we're getting more and more customers, so that's good. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and start as this nears completion. Let's go ahead and start putting our chemical supplies in. We're going to do that in this particular store here. So we're going to go under build and remove objects. And even though these are 2 blocks, I only need to put an X in one of the blocks. And we're going to get rid of all these food cases. And the rest of these are food shelves. So we're going to get rid of these. Looks like our builder is almost catching up to us. Okay, so now let's go ahead, go back into build, and under objects, we're going to want to go under shelves, and let's see, what do we have under tables? Nothing right now. Everything's locked that we might want to use there. We don't need pallets yet because that's also locked. So we're just going to need straight shelves. So I'm going to put 1, 2, 3, 4, and then come down and do the same here. And that will open us up. That'll give us 8 products. Here at the very beginning, here comes our builder. And let's speed up time so they can get in here and do what they need to do. And then once we get, okay, now we've got these built, we can come in and we can set the products. And remember, we're going to do the chemical products here, which again are basically, we got detergent, We've got light bulbs. We're going to do all the household items here that we can fit. And then, so we may need to adjust the plans. Let's see. So we got dishes there. And so that takes care of household items, health and beauty. Oh yeah, we're definitely going to have more than we've got room for, but that's okay. We can always build more stores. All right, so there's our first 8. So now it's time to build more shelving. And so now we fill that up. There's 8 more shelves that'll be coming in. Let's go ahead and speed up time a little bit. Remember, we still have an extra space right here on each of these aisles to bring in more products, which we will most likely be doing. Okay, back to health and beauty. And just to satisfy my curiosity, let's left click here. Okay, tooth care was the last item that we added under health and beauty. Okay, so now we're ready for deodorant and shaving cream, diapers and toilet paper. Oh, they're in the other store. They are in the convenience store right now. So we're going to go ahead and add those in here because we'll be swapping out those products there. So diapers, toilet paper, first aid. And now we got drugs. Only one item for drugs. I would expect it a little bit more. Okay, so then we got, and then pads and tampons are the last item. So now that means we've worked our way entirely through health and beauty. Tools, car tools, we could go into. I'll tell you what, we've got one shelf left. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, and if we come back in, media and toys is the last one. And with that in mind, let's go ahead and let's add another. Click on build, get another shelf up here. And I'm going to add in that final, there we go. So let's go ahead and tools and toys. So now we have everything that we could possibly have on shelves in this particular store. And if we come back in here, we are working well. We're well on our way, a little over a day now, a day and a half before we can get into clothing. So plans have changed a little bit. Now it looks like clothing is going to be over here. If I've got enough room, I don't want to cram too much in there. Looks like I may be okay though. Okay, so our stocker is hard at work getting products on the shelves. We've got more deliveries happening. All right, while that's going on, this is going to take a day or so to filter through, and we'll see how these products start doing and how this area starts doing. And while I'm thinking about it, let's come back into here. This is no longer a grocery store. We are going to call this household. Let's go ahead and make it a little bit longer, call it household items. Okay, and we'll let that filter its way through for a day or so while our research is still going. And let's see, what are we missing here? Our queues are full. Yeah, you can see they're backing up here. We've got 3 full time, so everything is selling really well here. Really well. So very happy about that. You can see our profit is through the roof right now. We're at 2,300, maybe even the possibility of reaching 2,400 by the end of the day, and 2,500. Okay, so 2,500, a huge jump in profit there, which is exactly what we're needing. Our sales number, you can see as we click over into a new day, sales continue to climb rapidly. Our profit skyrocketed today. Our parking, we have 122 total parking spots. We're now using 69 of those. So it's climbing. The percentage is climbing. I always like to have some extras though. Don't want to run it too bad. And peak customers, we're now up to 60 peak customers. And the customer satisfaction seems to be going well. And I think that's mainly because we have plenty of checkouts running. They get a little bit backed up, but remember, you have to make the decision of, it would be easy to just add another person, another clerk for checkout. But if doing that, you also incur that cost. And is there enough gain to offset that? Now, you could take the easier route and just simply add one in here and say, hey, we're going to keep an extra cashier in here through the entire time we're open, and that would be fine. But I'm trying to avoid that for this particular portion of the playthrough. We may need to come back and do that later on. Let's see how sales are going here. I got a feeling I'm going to need another stock person. In fact, let's just go ahead and do that. They may not totally be needed, but you can see we're running low. In fact, we're out on this shelf, and I don't like that. So let's go ahead and take care of that. Let's go to Manage and come to Household Items, which is this area. And let's go to Staff, Stock Clerk. Again, this is going to take a little while to filter through, but you will start at 6. Let's hire another Stock Clerk, and not much as far as skill here. That's not good. Okay, we'll go ahead and hire this person. They've got a little bit more sociability. I'm not sure if that makes a whole lot of difference, but we'll go ahead and hire them. Okay, and we'll have them come in and work the second shift starting at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. Now we'll have a stock person here at all times. All right, I see some dirt here that needs to be taken care of. Unfortunately, it doesn't look like, even though we should have a janitor around, I don't see one, and which is a problem. I'm gonna, right now, I'm gonna assume that's just a bug, and I'm not gonna worry too much about it. And I'm definitely not going to go out and hire a whole bunch of additional stocking people and janitors and so forth to try to cover for that. All right, we're almost done with our clothing, which is now going to come into this building. And let's see how our profit is doing. Looking good so far today. It's not necessarily, oh my goodness, look at the lines up here. Wow. Okay, and you can see, if we slow down things a little bit here, you can see the emotions on their face. This guy here is very angry because he's having to wait in line. Same thing here. We've got some people that are smiling. Now, we have a couple of options here. We can, as I mentioned before, we can try to get another cashier in here, which may be actually what I end up doing. But the other option is we can come in under Manage, and let's take a look at our staff under the big grocery. If we look at our cashiers, a big portion of this is their skill. Okay, you got skill for being a cashier, and that's the speed at which they process these checkouts. But then you have patience and sociability, and that is also huge. You can see here, this guy has very low patience, which means that the people in his line are going to get sick of being in his line very quickly. All right, let's go ahead and hire another cashier. Let's see, here's somebody with a pretty high level right now. Let's go ahead and get Travis in here. Travis is going to work starting at 6 o'clock. Let's get another cashier. Oof, pickings are very slim here. And we're going to go ahead and get the patience and sociability factor here. And she is going to come in there. So now we filled these up, and hopefully over time our characteristics will grow as our employees have been employed longer. While we're in here, there is also, I tell you what, we need to take a look here. Yep, it's going back to the night hours. And we want to research electronics. And at some point, I'm just going to have to let this run its course because it's by default just going to go down in line. But now we're ready for clothing. One other thing that you can do is for any of your employees, you can click on this information tab. Okay, so if we come through here now, they don't have any information yet because they haven't started working for us. But if we find somebody who has, you go to the information tab and you see they've been employed for 5 days. Average hours worked is 9, salary paid 99, average revenue for this employee is $336. So we've paid them $99 and they've made, through their checkouts, $336. That's a profitability of 340%. So this is an easy way, if you hire additional workers, to give it a few days, then come back in and take a look and see what the profitability percentage is. If you're paying them more in wages than they're earning you through the checkouts in this case because they're cashiers, then you know instantly that this is no good. Okay, then you come up here to your stock clerks and you can see here the average cost, and you can also see how many times that they're having to restock the shelves, so you can see if it's necessary. In this case, that we have a stock clerk available all of the time that the store is open. And in general, I want to keep that because we're going to need one. The trick will be to figure out when you're going to need to start putting like an additional stock clerk, just like what you do here. You could have one that tries to bridge the gap and comes in maybe at 10 or 11 o'clock and works into the afternoon. So you don't have two on duty at all times, but you do during peak hours. That's going to be the trick. When do you need to go to that level? So far, I've not seen a reason to do that. Okay, with that in mind, let's go ahead and slow things down a little bit, because as we come to the end of the day, I'm going to go ahead and mark all of these to get rid of, and we are going to build, let's say we're going to put clothing in here. So we're going to put a bunch of clothing racks in here. And why are we doing clothing? It's because that was the latest thing that we just got done researching. Then we'll work on future stores, being for electronics and media and so forth. So let's work on clothing now. And let's see, let's go ahead and mark all of these for removal. And that way our builder can come in, take care of that. Okay, and let's speed back up time so our builder can come in and actually take care of their work. Okay, so they've gotten that taken care of. Now we come back into build, go back to objects, and here we need clothes racks. So we're going to put 1, 2, 3, 1, 2, 3, and finally 3 on this one as well. We're going to put 4 up here. Okay, so this will give us 10. I'm not sure if that's actually enough. May need to try to put one there if we can squeeze one in, because I believe there are 11 clothing items. But as always, we're about to find that out. It's either 10 or 11, and we'll see. All right, so we're going to go ahead and set the first one, t-shirts here, pants there, dresses, and let's see, shirts. And we're running out of clothing. Why is that? Jackets. I know there were more items than that. Okay, it may be that we've actually got, let's come back under build. Either I've read that wrong, or maybe there's some other items. Okay, it's not on the table. And definitely not in the fridge. But what about the shelf? Maybe it's the shelf. There we go. I see shoes and so forth. Okay, so let's come back here. And so we've gotten all of the items. Oops, let's unclick that. Clothing. So now we've got everything. Yeah, coats was the last item in there. All right, so now just as soon as I get our builder to take care of this, I am going to need to get rid of all of these. Okay, so now you can see we have items. Now they're not stocked yet, but we have items ready to go on this. Let's come in and see, when does our convenience store stock clerk come in? And we're actually going to change this and have them come in earlier. And I may go ahead and add another one in here as well. All right, a quick glance up to our profit. We can see our profit is definitely going the direction we want it to go. So that's excellent. And it doesn't make me feel so bad about the idea of hiring another stock clerk, even though we may not quite need them. Okay, the highest skill here. Ooh, I do like the patience and sociability. I'm not sure that actually, again, that matters for the stock person, but we're going to go ahead and actually do this, because in general, I don't need the stock person to be all that quick. They generally have plenty of time, because they begin restocking all of these shelves or fridges or whatever the case may be when they drop below 50% capacity. So that gives them plenty of time before we run out. And again, we're making lots of profit, so it gives me no problem in doing that and hiring an extra person. Our cashier right now we just have one. I'm going to actually hire an additional cashier to prepare for this. Again, we may or may not need them. If we don't need them, we'll get rid of them later on. Let's see. I like these numbers for a cashier. Let's go ahead and hire them. We're going to have them come in at 10 o'clock and they'll work through some of the peak hours and hopefully that'll work out well for us. All right, how are we doing on our research? Okay, research moving right along. And okay, I need to slow this down just for a moment because now that everything's been removed that we need removed, we are ready to come back into our objects and on shelf. Go ahead and put 4 shelves in right here. And then we'll go ahead and pick out our items when our builder is done. Okay. So let's go ahead and pick out our items for shelf. Clothing. We've got 4 items. We got 1, 2. So we've got shoes on the shelf now. And then we've got underwear and lingerie. Okay, so we're fully stocked now, or will be as soon as our stock person gets in here. We're going to be fully stocked in this store. Now we need to change the name of it. It's no longer a convenience store. We're going to change this from convenience. Let's get rid of this. And we're going to make this clothing. I had done a little experimentation off camera with putting up additional buildings, and that was before I filmed the previous episode as well as this one, with having multiple stores with the same item. And the reason I wanted to test that out is because if you look under needs, you can see that we're not fully meeting any of these needs. And I thought, well, maybe we need an additional store and that would give us the additional demand. It doesn't appear to be the case though. My guess, let's see, what is this telling us? The queues were full. Okay, so we had that taking place up there. We had too many people waiting. I think we've taken care of that. We'll see. But what I'm guessing is happening is that as you open up more of these road outlets, 4 total, and we've got the first one done now, I'm guessing that as we open up more of those, that's where the increased demand will come from. So we may end up with a situation where we have more, clothing stores and food stores and so on down at this area, and then another one here, and then here. Again, we'll see as time goes on, but it looks like that may be the case. All right, let's see how our profit does now. Oh, wow, yeah, it's really jumping now. And again, this is simply because we got our stores fully stocked. Ooh, this is very bad right here. I look down here and I see that 2 is not enough. Okay, so we're going to need to quickly come in and let's build, and let's see, there it is. Sometimes these descriptions cover up what I'm looking for in the list. And so we need a checkout counter. Let's go ahead and speed things up. And I'll tell you what, while that's working itself out, we need another cashier. So we're running 4 cashiers total, and that's 2 for each shift. So we're going to go ahead and bring in a couple more. And let's see what we've got. I like the stats here better for patience and social ability. Yeah, I like that a lot. But let's see there. Ooh, okay, this will do because this is quite a bit more, nearly double. So we're going to bring in Alex and have Alex actually start at 6 o'clock. 6, there we go. And then we're going to hire an additional cashier, and let's see what we've got. These stats look not quite as good as here. Let's see, 17 versus 23. They're pretty close. I'm going to go with the higher cashier stat, and he is going to come in there. All right, so let's see. Things look a little bit funny here. So I'm going to go ahead and let's see. We got 6 o'clock. and 14. Okay, so there's one for each shift. Back to, oh, 10 o'clock. Okay. So let's have you come in at 6 and you come in at 14. Okay, so this should even things out. Now you can see on our graph here, we've got 3 for the entire duration that we're open. Okay, that's what I wanted. And again, if down the line that turns out to be too much, then we can always remove it. Okay, let's head back to what we were doing. Let's go ahead and hit select, get out of there. Let's look at our profit. Wow, look at that profit grow. That is excellent. So now we have a clothing store, household items, and then a grocery, all completely independent of one another. Now, one of the things that we may need to look into going forward is it okay? Do we need to have these specialized, or would we be just as well off to make one humongous store once we get all the products unlocked and simply have like a Walmart type store where you can find everything from groceries to household items, electronics, clothing, and so on, all in one store? Does that make any difference with your sales? And we'll see as time goes along and we unlock, as I talked about before, we unlock these additional outlets, these road outlets that I'm assuming will bring in even more customers. So we'll need to be ready for that when that time comes. A quick glance at our research. We're about halfway done with electronics, and that will be the next item that we'll be taking a look at. As you can see, it doesn't have that many items on there, about 7 if I'm counting that correctly. So let's speed up time a little bit here. Yeah, profit has gone through the roof in this episode. So getting all of our products squared away and specializing our stores has really, really helped us with our profit. We've gone from basically break even, maybe a couple of $100s a day, to now it looks like we're between $16,000 and $17,000 per day, maybe even more by the time we get to the end of the day. So that's going to do it for this particular episode. I really appreciate you guys coming along for the journey with me. I'm having a blast in this game. It is extremely addictive for me. So hopefully you guys are enjoying it. And stay tuned for more of our Let's Play series of Another Brick in the Mall.